Okay, now it's kind of late, but I wanted to get this one recorded before I go to sleep, and I want because I've been working on this one for about, I would say, about a good 45 minutes. I was working on this part, and this is the class's travel lab. Okay, now the instructions with this is we're going to use a class syntax to construct objects and use the constructor method to set initial attributes. Okay, and per the instructions, which I'll go over right here. Okay, so per the instructions, oh, that made it really big. Okay. A driver can be initialized with a name and a string representing the day that he joined Scuba, and add the following methods and attributes to the class. So we're going to have a driver class, and we're going to have the methods of start date and years experience from beginning of. Now, years experience from beginning of takes an argument of a year and returns the number of years since the driver's start date. And they gave us a little hint here, which was awesome. When creating a new date object, you may want to refer to the MDN's documentation with JavaScript. Okay, so I'm going to push this back over here so I can take a look at that. And what I want to do is I'm going to start off first. Okay, so the first part was type of class of driver. Okay, that was the first part they were looking at. And we're going to have a constructor. Okay, and our constructor is going to have a name and a start date. Okay, because they want a string representing the day he joined Scuba. So that's the start date. I could also call it a join date too, but we'll go with start date. Start date seems fine. Okay. Alright, so they want the name. So this dot name will equal name. And here's where this other one came in. Okay. So this dot start date, what is this going to equal now? Alright. So I was reading up on the JavaScript MDN, and we have this right here. Alright. So the syntax, this creates a JavaScript date instance that represents a single moment in time. Okay, so your date objects are based on a time value that is the number of milliseconds since 1 January 1970 UTC. Okay, so this is important. I'm going to go through this in my REPL so you can see exactly why this is important. All right, so, and a big thing here is that you have to have this syntax new date or the new date value, whatever that you put in there. So basically, you know, we're going to be doing new date and start date. So new date, start date. But this is important right here. JavaScript date objects can only be instantiated by calling JavaScript date as a constructor. Calling it as a regular function, an example without the new operator, will return a string rather than a date object. So we have to use new date. If not, it's not going to work. So we're going to do this. So this start date is going to equal new date start date. Okay, so that's going to equal that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this code is working so far. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's try this code. We're going to say Jim is equal to new driver, and we're going to pass in our arguments or our parameters. Jim, and we're going to say his start date is 08-09-1995. That's per the test. Okay, there's a test on it that I did pull up the information on. And it's right there. Okay, I'm doing this like this just to match the test. I'm not worried about the name. Now I'm not going to go without. So we're going to go ahead and let's see if this works. Run, And yeah, we have a driver. His name is Jim, and his start date is 1995-08-9. Okay, so there's his start date. We see that it works right here because it put it into a date. So the JavaScript object put it into a date. So we know that this date format works. Okay, that's important. Because I tried other things, and I tried it without the dashes, and it didn't work. So I'll give you an example. See, invalid date. So it tells you if it's invalid or valid the way that you type it in there. So I went ahead and did that, and that ended up working out. Okay, so that was good. Right, now the second part of this that they want is years experience from beginning of. This takes an argument of a year and returns the number of years since the driver's start date. Okay, so once again we have to use the date object. So this is years experience from beginning of whatever year you put in there. Okay, so we're gonna go through this one then. All right, so we're gonna bring this one down here because we're gonna construct. We're gonna put both of these in here. So years, I'm gonna copy that so I don't mess it up. All right, move this down a little bit. Okay, from beginning of and whatever year that you have. Okay. Now I'm going to go through this a little bit slow so I could explain everything that goes on. I'm also going to be logging every single thing in this console so that we can see everything that comes up. All right. So we're gonna say let end date is going to equal. Now remember, we have to call the new for any of the JavaScript dates. So we have to do this new date, and we're calling the year. All right. Now how it has it is it has the year, and then the month, and then the day. Now, the month is 0. That means January because it starts from 0. Okay, so this will be the year we put in, January 1st. So years means from beginning of year. So we want the beginning of the year to be that. Okay, so we can have that, and I'm going to console log the end date. Just so that as we go through this, you can see it. Okay, so we're gonna have that. So let's see here. Let's say 2017. Okay, so as you see right now, it's bringing out 1/1/2017. So that's the beginning of 2017, which is the first part that they want in there. Okay, returns the number of years since the driver's start date. Okay, so that's the beginning of the year. That's the first part. Okay, so they want to know how many years since he started. So we're going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to say let total years, so 12 years wrong. Let total years equal end date together, end date minus this dot start date. So minus the start date that is placed in as your argument. Okay. I'm going to do that. I'm going to also console log total years. So let's see. This is where I stated milliseconds were important. So here we go. This number output right here, of course, is not the years. It's milliseconds. Okay? So what we got to do is change this into years. And to do that, we got to divide it by how many basic milliseconds are in a year. Okay? So to do that, we have to go into some math. I'm not a fan of math either, so this is what we have to do though. Okay, so I'm going to say divided by, we're going to bring something else up. Okay, so and this doesn't count for leap year and things of that nature, just you know, just a roundabout good enough figure for most people. Okay, so we got 365 days in a year, right? Times, there's 24 hours in a day. Times, there's 60 minutes in an hour. Times, there's 60 seconds in a minute. Times 1,000 milliseconds in a second. Okay? So, now let's see what this brings up. So now we have 21.41 years. That's how much that comes out to. You divide all the milliseconds by the other milliseconds, that's what you get, 21.41. If you want to do it on a computer, go ahead, be my guest. Because I did it too on my calculator manually here, and it came out to the same exact number. All right. Okay. Now, according to our test, it's saying it should equal 21. 21 exactly. Okay. So if I was to run these tests on there, it's going to fail. If I was to run the actual test, my test will fail. I know that for a fact because I tried it before. So the test will fail at 21.41 because it's not asking for that. It's asking for 21. Okay. Now, there's a couple of ways I could have gone about this, but I wanted to go about it with the most, at least try to get it as most accurate as I possibly could. Okay. Because I could have, I could just go ahead and say parse int in total years, and it'll bring me 21 because it'll take off all the everything after the 21. It'll take it off and it will return me 21. But I don't want that because what if he's working 21.52? It's actually closer to 22 years. I want it around it. Okay, so we went to our next step. Let rounded total years equal math dot round, and I'm going to bring in total years. Okay. Then I'm going to return rounded total years. So let's see what this brings back. And that's 21. Okay. So that's everything that our test is looking for. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put that information into the actual test. All right, so here we go. And since I know this works, I'm going to go ahead and take out the console.logs. And I'm going to open this up and run my learn on it. Hopefully that still works. Okay, I was having an issue with my console earlier. And now we see that our driver class is working. Create the new driver and years experience from beginning of, calculates the number of years driven. So that part is now working with our class as we have right here. Now, before I start running it, I like to test things out and I like to run the console logs and just see what numbers are coming out, like I did here, so that way I can see, okay, if the test is asking for this, I gotta find this, and I gotta get this to equal this when it comes to the test. Okay, and being able to see exactly what everything's coming out to, it allows me to look at the information and say, hey, that's not a, like when I had this like that, it allows me to see like, whoa, that's a big number. So, you know, I was like, oh, it comes out in milliseconds. So it allowed me to go ahead and rethink, say, okay, so what do I got to do from there? I got to determine how many milliseconds are in a year, so that way we can just divide it by that. And that is how we were able to solve the first two. I'll be going through these next ones soon. Not today, it's 1:17 in the morning. But thank you much for joining along with me today, and I hope you have a good day.